Hands-On is sponsored in part by Elmer's Products, Inc., manufacturers of a variety of adhesives, arts and crafts, and office products for use at home, school, or business for over 60 years. www.elmers.com. Dixon Ticonderoga. Our colors, their world. www.dixonusa.com.
Learn skills for a whole lifetime of crafting on this season of Hands-On. At school, home, or even in sports, each week we've got craft basics and great projects, each with 5 steps and 5 main ingredients. And every project teaches a new skill that you can use over and over again. Keep basic supplies like scissors, markers, toothpicks, and rulers on hand. And remember, be creative. Since this is our last program on Skills for Life, we thought we'd feature a favorite activity, which is sports of all kinds. Today is all about making things to celebrate your favorite sport. First up, we're decorating socks with your name, a team logo, or whatever you'd like. Then Prudy has a charitable project. Helping others is a true skill for life. We're making sports charms for your shoes. Then it's a sports wallet for your gym bag, perfect for keeping an ID or emergency cash. And last up, it's a watercolor pennant featuring your favorite team. So let's get playing. You can make socks to match the colors of your favorite team and your favorite sport. Here's what you'll need. First of all, you're going to start out with white socks. You're going to need all-purpose white glue, dyes in whatever color you'd like, a spray dye, and then we have some scrap cardboard, toothpicks, and a little piece of construction paper. Our basic supplies are masking tape and scissors and a pencil. Now, the first thing you want to do is to cover your work surface, and we've put a black garbage bag down and taped it down with masking tape so that we're not going to get dye in anything we don't want to. The next thing is to take your socks. You want to make sure that your socks are washed and dried before you start this project, but don't use any fabric softener. Then the next thing is we're going to put a board in between here to protect our socks. Now you're going to have to look at your socks, because if you took soccer socks, they might be a different size, or these are a tube style sock. They're all going to be different. So measure the width of your sock and then cut some cardboard just out of scrap cardboard. It could be from a box or the back of a tablet. And then we're going to put these into your socks. The easiest way is to kind of stretch your sock a little bit over this, and you're going to put 2 in, one towards the bottom and one towards the top, depending on how long your piece of cardboard is. Get that on. Now you can do the portion that's down by your foot, or you can leave that one plain. I'm going to put one more in. Now remember, these were pre-washed socks because that's really important. Now the next thing is to pick what team or what sport you want to cover. So we've chosen football, but you could choose soccer or basketball or baseball or whatever your favorite, even a bicycle. So I'm going to take a pattern for a football, and I've just drawn this freehand in a football shape. I'm going to lay it down on my construction paper and cut that out, just so I have a shape to lay down along my sock. Okay, so now the next thing is we're going to draw our designs. We could put the footballs all around. You might want to put your favorite number down, and we're going to draw using glue. So let's say if your number is number 7, we're going to put a number 7. We're going to put a football, and we're going to go just around our pattern. And you want to let this glue dry completely. Let's put some stitch lines down the middle. And then we're going to draw another football at this end. Now you can draw as little or as much as you want. You might want to put your name or your initials on it. And draw that. And let's repeat another number 7 on this side. Now you'd let this completely dry, then turn it over, and you do the same thing on the other side. Now we've got the toothpicks here. If there's any that have just moved over a little, or you want to spread your glue a little, or get a little bit of extra coverage. Now the thing to remember is wherever you have glue, the sock is going to remain white. So let's move this one to the side. And I have one that's all dry here. So all of my numbers and footballs have all drawn on both sides. Now it's time to take my spray. Now I've chosen green. You could mix colors. You can use more than one and have a tie-dye effect. And you're going to simply spray on this covered surface. The closer you get to the sock, the more intense the color. Now it takes about 72 hours for this to dry and really set the color. It'll be dry to the touch in even a shorter amount of time. And you want to make sure you get a lot of color right where you had your markings of, in this case, your football. Now you can go back and put another color on. I've got red and green here. And the colors are going to spread. Now, for example, if you wanted that color to spread a little bit more, you can also spray some water on top of it. You'd let this dry, and as I said, you want it to set for 72 hours. Turn it over and do the other side of the sock. When you're all done, it's going to look like this. Now you're going to let this sit for 72 hours, as I said, to make sure that the color has a chance to set in. Now the last step is that this is acting as a waxless batik, so that the glue, anywhere the glue is, it will stay white and the rest of it will remain color. So what you want to do is pull your cardboard out from inside your sock, and we get both of those out, and then you're going to throw this in the washing machine. And that's when you're going to have the big reveal, because when you're done and it comes out of the washing machine, you'll see all of those designs that you drew in glue are going to show up as white, and you'll have personalized sock to match your favorite team and your favorite sport.
This is a charm project. They're wooden charms with embellishments, and I call it the I Support charms because you can make them for any issue or program, or to raise funds for a program to show that you support something. Over here we have supplies. You start with a wood disc. They can be any shape. I used round ones, but leaf ones are available, snowflake stars, anything you can imagine is out there. And there are charms to add, jewelry findings. Those too are available in anything you can imagine to fit whatever program you're promoting. You'll need a lobster clasp, and you'll need, these are called jump rings to hook things together. To hook these all on, you're going to need a drill with a little tiny drill bit that just will fit these jump ring wires, and little pliers or tweezers or jewelry needle nose pliers to work with those to bend the wires to hook them together. For the artwork part of it, I've used everything from paint to stickers to stencils, and we'll talk about those right now. To work on a little piece like this, there's an easy way to do it without getting your fingers dirty. This is a putty that you use for hanging stuff on your wall. I'm going to take a little tiny bit, hook it to a pencil, and then I can hook this little piece of wood right on it, and I can work with it like this and never get my fingers into it to make fingerprints or get your fingers dirty. The first thing you do is base coat, which is the very first color you put on. I'm using acrylic paint that's water-based, so easy to work with. I can get the edge and get it on there smoothly. That's why we use a nice big flat brush. There. You have to let it dry before you do the next step. I'll rinse my brush out in the water and dry it. And I have one right here that has been base coated pink, and I'll show you how to use a sticker. One of the programs nearest to my heart is animal welfare. So we're going to make a little kitty cat on this thing, and I've got little tiny stickers. It's important to find stickers that fit. And so these just stick right on. but we want to embellish it somehow. So I can either draw around it, or I can put little dots around it, which also makes the heart show up. I think I'll do that. This is a stylus that makes little tiny dots. They're called dip dots because you dip the stylus in and you make a dot on your surface. You could use the end of your paintbrush, but those make bigger dots. So we save them for other projects, unless you have one that's pointed, I suppose. See, that will go all the way around, like so. Another thing you could do is with a liner brush and paint, or with a fine tip pen, we could outline this cat to make it show up a little bit and give it a little more of an artsy thing. See what that does to it? It makes it really show up in that pink. This is going to be cute. Now to finish off, what I would do is varnish this, and you can varnish right over that sticker, and it makes a protective coat on it, but it has to be good and dry. And then you can use those little tiny drill bits with a hand drill, or I suppose an electric drill, and drill holes, one up here at the top for the lobster clasp, which has to be put on with a jump ring, and then down here to add any charms that you might. It might be a cat, it might be, could be a mouse, that would be very cute. It could be a bead if you like. And then you put them all together. Let's talk about some of these that are already finished. I did this one for a school program, one to support a music program. These are my old high school colors, Fremont High School, red and white. So I put the letter on, and that's what you can do. You use the school colors and put the initial on. To put an initial on, you can use a stencil, in which case you would base coat, then put the stencil on, hold it, use a color, and just pounce with a stencil brush. And that's how you would get that on there. Rub-ons would work also. The other thing I like to do is go into my computer and look at fonts. And I've got a page right here, and I'll print off some fonts just to get some ideas, and then I'll paint those on with a liner brush. Because it's a music program with a liner brush, I added a little music note, and the charms are all instruments and also notes. This one was done with a jewelry finding. That is a tree, but I wanted a background, so I base coated this little disc blue, and then put green grass on it before I glued the finding on. The charms attached are leaves. This would be a great one for issues such as destroying our rainforest, show support for that, and other things that have to do with our woods and trees. This is an environmental one. It's just got the earth on it. This one is all done with paint. You can see that I did black first, then a blue earth, added some green landmass, and then some dots for stars. These are also great fundraisers, by the way. You can produce these and sell them to support your program. This one supports the Humane Society or, animal welfare of any kind. I used a sticker with the dog, and this is a little doghouse down at the bottom, which I thought was cute. Another one is a high school one that supports the art program, which would be very near and dear to my heart. There's a palette hanging off the end and a paintbrush right over the top. And this one looks terrific on this jacket. Don't they look great as zipper pulls? This one was done as a support symbol for like ocean issues. There's a whale hanging off this, but it could easily be a seal or a fish or coral for protection of our coral reefs. Any of these charms would look great on a backpack, on a cell phone, on sports bags. Can you imagine on these round discs, a ball painted to support a soccer team, football, and then you could hang those charms off it? Great ideas. I'm sure you'll be able to use this in any which way, science programs, environmental issues, sports programs. Go get yourself some support.
Our next project is a fun and simple tuck and fold sports wallet. It's made out of interfacing, so it's very light and you could throw it easily into your gym bag with an emergency dollar or a ticket or two inside of it. Our basic supplies that we need are a sheet of interfacing in 8.5 by 11 inches, a key ring, watercolors, and a hole punch, and we'll also need an iron. So the thing we're going to start with is our interfacing, and I've put it onto a protected piece of work surface so that I don't get paint everywhere, because this portion of the project is very messy. What I've done is I've put water into the paint wells here, and I'm going to mix some colors into this so that I get lots of really wet colors. And then I'm just going to paint it right onto my interfacing into lots of kind of little blobs everywhere. And you want to use quite a bit of paint and quite a bit of water so that eventually it's all going to blend together. I'm going to rinse my paint and go to my next color. I'm using yellow and pink and orange, and these are just beautiful, vibrant colors, so you're going to get a lot of depth out of this project. So you want to continue blending, and I'm going to take one more little bit of orange here, mix it in. There we go. So you would keep on going and adding this, and the more you use, the better your marble effect is going to be. You can even reach over your project afterwards and kind of just tap some extra color onto it like this, and that's going to give it another kind of look and appeal for your project. It's also going to help blend the colors really nicely. So I've got one piece of interfacing already finished, so I'm going to set this one aside. We'll move over to this one. Let me just wipe off our surface so we're all nice and dry again. This is what our finished interfacing looks like. The next step is going to involve the iron, so you will need adult supervision. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it up here. And now this whole process is all about folding the interfacing in the right way. So our first fold goes directly in half, and the horizontal way, and then we just press the crease. And it's important to press the crease so that you get a nice crisp edge on it. If you don't have the crisp edges, your wallet doesn't stay shut very good. The next one we're going to do is just a little 3/4 inch edge on each side. And if you wanted, you could measure this, but it works pretty good just to use your eyes and estimate it instead. That one, and then we're going to do the other short side the same. Just fold it over. Crease it, and we have to do one long edge. So we're going to open those back up, fold this edge down, and iron it. Now as you can see, I'm getting nice crisp edges. Okay, the next fold we're going to do is to fold this piece in and then bring this edge where our center fold is. We'll iron that piece, and tuck it back a little bit. And I'm going to leave that in place and fold my other edge over to match, and it lines up nicely in the center. And we'll fold that down. Then we're going to open it up again. And this time, we're going to make little triangles in each of the corners. These little triangles are very important. As you make them, bring the edge of your interfacing to the closest crease line. And we'll fold that one down. Okay, just two more right here. And you can see that they're popping open a little bit after I fold them. If you were to put a little bit more heat on your project, those would stay down even better. And one last corner. There we go. Okay, I'm going to bring this back over here for our final folds. Now what's going to happen is we're going to fold the corners in, and then we're going to fold it backwards this way. Right, here we go. Now everything comes into the center. Open up that long flap. There's this one and this one. Okay, now we're going to flip it over. Now up at the top here is that long edge that we have folded over that little bit. We're going to bring it down, and I'm going to iron that just to hold it in place. And you can see what that does is it creates two little tiny corners that are little triangular corners. And the next step is to flip up the bottom. Oops, we came unfolded a little bit. And tuck it up into those two corners. And that's what's going to hold your wallet closed. And that's why you don't need any glue for this project, is it just stays together all by itself. So finally, one last fold over, and then I can press the entire piece. At this point, I'll put the iron down and keep it down for a couple of seconds and make sure that everything's nice and firm. Okay, the final finishing touch to our project is to punch a hole in the corner up here and put our ring in. And we're all set to put a ticket into it for our next event.
Show your school spirit with these great sport pennants. Here's what you'll need. We're starting out, it's very important to have an oil crayon. We're using metallic and glitter watercolors, and then we have an assortment of markers. We have brush pens, metallics, different colors, and then you need a very thin layer of interfacing and some ribbon. Our basic supplies are glue, masking tape, scissors, and a pencil. Now the first thing to get started is you want to go to the website and it'll have all the patterns. You can print these out or you can draw your own patterns. We're going to lay our pattern. I've chosen the one for baseball, and I'm going to put a piece of interfacing on top of it. And interfacing is something you find in the sewing store. So I'm going to lay that out, and I'm going to take my pencil and trace over my pattern. And I'm just going to get the outline. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is just giving me a place so I know where I'm going to draw my lines. Now you can take elements from different parts. There's some stars on it. Well, let's put a star over here and create the pennant that's really unique to you or your sport. Now, you don't have to do the extra little detail lines like the ones on the baseball because we'll add those later. Now, this is really similar to our first design, which is a resist kind of technique, so that where you're going to put this crayon is where you're not going to have any color, and your colors won't bleed then. So I'm going to go around the outline of our major parts of the design, and on this case it's the baseball, and I'm doing a nice thick line. And you're going to want to experiment and play with this because it's a fun technique and you can make a lot of pennants out of just a few pieces of interfacing. So I'm going around the design. Now, because there's oil in this, it's going to resist the watercolor. Now, you want to turn it over and do the same thing on the other side because the watercolor, because there's a lot of water, is going to bleed through. So you want to mimic one line on the front and on the back. This technique can also be done with a wax crayon. It works the same way. So we've got our design here. I've got one that I've drawn out ahead of time and it's all done. Now we're going to start doing each of the elements of the design in different colors. So I've chosen glitter watercolors because I like the way they look and I'm going to use some different colors. Let's start out with the green. I'm going to dip my brush in here. You get really vivid colors and I put a few drops of water ahead of time just to get the dark color. I'm going to start painting. You can go right off the edge. Use as much water as you need. And you don't have to be real careful going up to this line because that black is going to act as a resist, and when the color starts to kind of bleed through the interfacing, it's not going to go over that line. So I'm using quite a bit of water. I'm dipping it in the water each time, and you can make the color as intense or as light as you'd like. So I've done some green here. Then I'm going to come back with another color. Let's do a band of yellow. Make sure I've got all the green out of my brush. Or gold. Same thing. Now the green and the yellow are going to bleed together, but it isn't going to bleed into that shape of the baseball. Now let's come back in and do our baseball. And I know baseballs aren't blue, but I want to show you another color. So let's do a blue baseball. And you can really make it any color you'd like. And again, do you see the color is not going to, even when I drop the water on, it's not going to bleed into the next color because that's acting as a resist. So if you come over here to this example, you can see when this dries, I have the glitter one on here. You could use metallics, which are the watercolors that I have right here, and they give this beautiful effect. Lastly, you're going to come to this one, which we've already got painted. And if you can see, the watercolor bleeds right through, but you're not seeing those colors blend together. And I'm going to take markers and put some of the details in. I can use a brush marker and put a brown stitch line. Or I might want to come in with my metallic markers and let's write his name. And I can add a little detail to that or make it thicker or thinner. And the same thing, we can go through with the markers. The gold looks great. Or you might use a fine line. I'm mixing some colors here so you can see some of the different variations. Lastly, then we're going to take our scissors and trim our pennant. Back to the original pencil lines if you need to. Put your pattern on top. And then on the very last step, we're going to cut a slit, one here and one here. And then I'm going to just add some ribbon. It could be in your school color. So let's take a look at the finished ones. There's a finished basketball, a baseball with the stitch lines added in. This next example was done with white instead of black, but with a black outline. Here we've used white crayons rather than the oil pastels. And on the last example, we're back to the black oil pastels. So pick your favorite team colors. Thanks so much for watching this season. Hands-On is all about making creativity a big part of your life. We hope you've learned some new skills that you'll continue for years to come. Thanks for watching Hands-On.
Projects from today's show plus other ideas are available on the web at craftsforkids.com. This is program 1113. Hands-On is sponsored in part by Elmer's Products, Inc., manufacturers of a variety of adhesives, arts and crafts, and office products for use at home, school, or business for over 60 years. www.elmers.com. Dixon Ticonderoga. Our colors, their world. www.dixonusa.com.